for you.
I don't know. I saw the crowd. I'm worried about them. So. No, it's okay. I know. I'm always nervous it's not going to work, so I have to give myself like a 3-minute buffer. Troubleshoot it.
Are you telling us about it?
The first time I've.
That's why he doesn't like it. He's like, oh, I'll be right up. I'm glad you're sitting. You know, there's nothing that says we have to sit like this either. Yeah. Yeah. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sure. Mayor Flower.
Here.
Alderman Sir.
Here.
Dykeman.
Here.
Kirkpatrick.
Here.
Murray. Holloway.
Here.
Escrizzi.
Here.
All right, full house. Do we have any motions or amendments to the April 19th minutes?
I'd like to make one notation if we could. I'd like to have the records reflect that Board President Jerry Dykeman handled the meeting in lieu of the mayor being absent that night.
Is that in there?
Well, yeah, it's in like the section part of it, but I didn't make an announcement at the beginning. I can change it.
So we just don't have to make more round on this. Any other with that amendment?
I'll second.
All right, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Guest period, so that would be if you're not on the agenda, and you want to come and talk about something that's not on the agenda, you can come up and do that. If anybody that's not on the agenda that's here and wants to talk. All right.
Yes.
Take it up on me, so it's fine. Well, do we have two good?
We have 4 guests that filled out, so this would be the time that you guys would come up and speak.
They're just filling out to be on your app. You're gonna talk during the actual item as it comes up. They're just filling out the speaker cards, I guess.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
All right, we will close the guest period. Going on to the special event apps. Item 4, we've got the Jen Jacobsmeyer Rockwood School District Vehicle Day. You want to just go out and do like 2 minutes on what it is and?
Oh,
or you
that's
guys-
fine,
or you
yeah.
guys have enough info that you want to do a presentation on it?
No, I was just gonna answer any questions.
Yeah, you can, that's a presentation as far as I'm concerned. So does anybody have any
I don't
questions?
have any questions.
All right.
Everybody else does. All motion be approved.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved. See you later.
Thank you.
Yeah, those are my kind of presentations. All right, so we've got the St. Francis Episcopal Church outdoor concert application.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Janet Hausman, and I'm representing the committee that puts this together. Last year we did 2, this year we're doing 3. So our point of business here is the insurance liability form, and was that to your satisfaction? I turned it in with the rest of my papers.
That's Wes.
That's all
Wes
motion.
gets it all right.
If not, I have a better one.
No, it's good.
She's
You got
got several.
you got the limits, you got the additional shirt clause.
All right.
Okay, come on out. It's just for fun. Bring your chairs and your coolers, and the first band, I have flyers here, is a reunion band. And there are 6 or 7 pieces, so it's gonna be a good one.
Good.
Thanks.
Do we have any other, do you want to approve it?
All motion.
Second.
All right, motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, so approved. P and Z, we have our first one is item A, the Stolberts Enterprises special use permit for the service repair facility at 410 West 4th Street. You guys want, this is, we've kind of prior looked at this several times. I know at P and Z they had some different things that they came up with, but from, that doesn't think Terry's done a really good job resolving all that.
Yeah, from what P&Z basically stated was the fact that Terry's been working with the residents there, and I think he's already purchased 2 of the residential properties.
Correct.
And he's working with the other property owners on that.
Actually, working on buying the third one also.
Oh, okay,
So that came to me on Thursday.
okay, cool. So all 3 of the residentials might be looking at
These are all 3 that had the Curtis Avenue address.
Correct.
Well, that then takes care of this. This is, at our last meeting, we talked about the fact that I had issues with access to those 3 properties. And after our meeting, I was given the deed easement, or the easement deed that showed that there was access through the church parking lot, and it could be forever. And so that, when it came then to P&Z last week, I was one who helped approve this to go forward with, because it took care of my issue.
And is that easement, the access through the church parking lot, is that specific to the 3 Curtis lot addresses?
Correct.
Yes.
Only, it didn't apply to anybody else?
Doesn't apply to anybody else. And you have a memo from the building commissioner regarding the special use permit as well. And
Right.
regarding the recommendation that P&Z made as being one that the staff would not recommend that you put on the permit.
Correct. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve
Second.
All right, we have a
Without the
motion.
recommendation.
without the recommendation.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And I would like to thank you for, I know it's kind of hard to figure out how you're still doing the planning and all that, but I think that building's looking great. I appreciate you and all the stuff.
Okay.
As applicants go, you've been as easy to work with as anybody. I try to
Great.
work that stuff out, so I really
No, I appreciate it very much.
Congratulations on the.
Appreciate it, Terry.
Thanks.
We'll wreck some more cars for you.
Yeah, we'll. Yeah, we're in the process of damaging most of our police cars. All right. Yeah, you got anybody that's just standard rules in Eureka, once you're done with your petition, you get to leave if you want to. You can stay, but you don't have to, so we just sat in your shoes enough times, you don't have to stay if you want to. All right, we've got the Hymos, Part 3, value plants. We want another presentation.
I'd like to make a comment on that.
Okay, go ahead.
And the comment I have is I was one of the first people that talked in the original board meeting, because I was against him in his prior location. But now that he's got this new location, I think it's a good location. And I've stopped by there and I've talked to the people there, take a look at the plants that they have. And in my opinion, it's a good location. He's doing a good job. Could be more permanent than what we had before. So
I think it really looks nice.
I do too.
I mean, I'm not surprised, I'm not trying to say I have a problem, but the way it turned out with the layout on the street and everything, so that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and you essentially listened to all of our concerns and addressed those. And I love the permanency aspect. I realize you may not be there 12 months out of the year, but you may find that you may be able to.
We're not leaving.
Yeah, exactly. So I appreciate the commitment that you put into the town and the message that sends as well, but we're excited to have you.
Good.
So with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
And I'll second that.
All right, so Craig's gonna help us here because we had to jump through a couple on the motion, so we get a motion to approve that now, we're good. That's where it is. Okay, so we got a motion approved, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Everybody opposed?
Unrecused.
Abstain, yeah.
All right, so so we're good, all right, you're good.
We're good to go? Remember mother, my mom.
You're operating anyway.
I gotta have a cheap plug.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
See you later, thank you. All right, now we have all right, so this is the one that's a little more complex procedurally. but we'll just work our way through this. So this is the, we've seen this multiple times. This is the project that's over on, over off of 4B basically. So you've had that from staff where they're basically recommending, oh, I'm sorry, this is Reimar's, let's see. So this is the one we've looked at before on the dog daycare. Do you want to get up real quick? Just tell us the difference on the amended site plan to what you're doing now.
Is it down?
Yeah. It's pretty straightforward. We got the plan laying out, but it's give everybody a chance to make sure they understand what's just, all you really gotta do is just tell us what's different than what you had that was approved last time, and we'll figure it out.
Okay, perfect. It was just the building before, so now we're just wanting to add some runs on the right side nearest to the tracks. And then back to kind of like a fence in, privacy fence, and then a little yard blocked off. For them to be able to go outside, go potty, and some play breaks and things like that. So it's just like some fencing along the outside of the building.
What's the living quarters?
And living quarters, yes, we're gonna have living quarters.
One question for clarification, you have the outdoor play areas from 8 to 5 PM, but if you have the outdoor run is daylight hours. Did you intend that to be different, or do you want that to be the same?
Yeah, that can be the same. We're just wanna make sure, it's not too early for the.
Well, the only question would be because, it's daylight hours can be, 5:45 in the summer, and because condos there, it's whatever the board wants, but it's difficult to enforce that if there's any issues.
Yeah,
So it would be more consistent for staff enforcement if it's 8 AM to 5 PM.
That's fine.
I would make a recommendation, we use that 8 to 5 for both. Yeah.
That's fine.
Will there be an overnight, refresh my memory here? Will there
We
be
were gonna have a
overnight?
living quarters, so somebody would be there 24/7.
Some of like the dogs.
As far as them being there.
Overnight boarding?
Overnight, yes.
Yes, inside, they'll be inside overnight.
So the question is, so they won't be using the restroom from 5 PM until 8 AM? Is that, how will that,
Yeah, no, they will be going out, it'll just be like individual, like leash walk or just smaller, but they won't be out there for hours at a time playing. Like it's to go out, for potty, come back in for the evening.
okay, and that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah, if we got into that, we'd have a lot of homework. So.
Yeah.
All dogs in Eureka are in their house.
Yeah.
We're sending Greg Martini by to see that he's got plenty of. His new position is of course the 8 to 5 dog. Joe, Jerry, I'm just kidding. All right, let's get out of hand. So so basically the big thing is you're putting a living center somewhere in there, so if you have somebody walks the dog overnight, you got somebody there. And then 2 is you've added the outdoor run with the fencing, but just so for clarification on it, in my mind at least, the whole property, you got one side's railroad tracks, you got the other side's really changed with elevation, so if you had an outdoor dog run in Eureka somewhere, and it's further away from the townhome, so it's hard for me to argue, it's not a pretty good spot to do that at. And they put it, it's not like they reversed it, so I mean, it's up to you guys, but it seems like.
I thought the location made really good sense, actually.
Well, if it becomes a problem before you send the special use permit, that's why a special use permit is appropriate things.
She's like my missile.
Come on now.
Or second, whatever.
You can second.
Wait.
First, it's on you.
Always having to be first,
Motion
Jerry.
to approve.
You guys think it was
It's a
We're
bill.
approving it here, you
Yeah.
gotta pass the ordinance first, and then you go on
Yeah.
to,
That's a skin.
yes.
So we're gonna take care of our procedure on our end, but so all we're doing from there is just saying, nobody has a substantive matter, nobody has a problem with what they're doing. All right, so now we're gonna run through, so that was to amend the plan commercial zoning.
Thank you.
Guys, so is that, so Craig, so that would be, we would then jump down to 6 below. So that would be the bill to amend the commercial zoning to allow it, so the PC zoning. So that would be bill number 2 set.
We can do B.
Do you want me to go to D?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna do that first. This is on the cycle. So
He usually comes in.
so this is the petition. Okay, now this is switching matters. So now we're gonna go to D, which is the Corby Road project, and basically what this is in general, and Kathy, I'm trying to paraphrase this, but this is basically saying this is a project that's not going as intended. It's all of the pieces of property are under an overlay or over a 5 district, and none of the properties can really do what they need to. So what we've been requested by almost everybody there is to put them back into the zoning they had prior to the development being approved, so that they can each kind of work it out on their own, and allow the property to move forward, because it's been kind of at a standstill for 8 years or something. It's been a long time, so that's
Yeah,
what we're being asked to.
When the building permits were issued for the houses that were constructed there, they were issued based upon the lots that were existing prior to this rezoning. So the Thomas, have a house there that, they can't finish based upon the R5 CP. So we're rescinding that to go back to what the original lots were that are platted within this county.
All right, so that's what's down here. Do we have anybody talking for or against, or anything going on? But
I'll just be real quick, because Kathy said it pretty well already, but the Jacksons are here, the Goodell's are here, they're both property owners in that area, and they're both in favor as well. I'm here for the Thomas, they are the owners of 329, that's the house, as was said, is not finished. The client has obtained a construction loan to finish the property, but they cannot finalize the loan because they cannot get the survey finalized, and they can't get the survey finalized because the house was built within the setbacks. And so we've been told by staff that the property needs to be rezoned so that we can correct those issues. So we would ask that you rezone it so that my clients can finish the house.
so once we do that, but by this motion, that's another one where then the private property owners can kind of work out what they need to come back, like if it's a boundary adjustment. Or
That's right.
That goes on.
Yeah.
We'll be seeing follow-up stuff that will allow, but at the end of the
That's
day,
right.
it makes the thing better.
Yeah, the parties all involved have already engaged in a surveyor. The surveyor has already prepared the boundary adjustment document, and I believe we might be able to file it as early as tomorrow. So we're gonna hit the ground running, assuming that the rezoning occurs.
All right, sounds good. Are there any other comments that aren't, I mean, if they disagree with Joe, that's.
Yeah,
fine.
they just agree.
Not a problem.
I'm with support.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, Joe, you got a whole, got a team going here. All right, so
Bunch of groupies.
that's gonna be item 8. And then we have the municipal code, item is E, and you got that in the item 2, but my general question from that is there wasn't, what was the status? That was just basically the side yard issue we talked about up here that we agreed on, so it looked to me like there was not much discussion, maybe not a whole lot of understanding what we were doing.
There was a single question, and Craig answered that.
You got a memo from John Boggs on that one too. This amendment was put forth at the request of city staff because a lot of our code, Eureka was incorporated in 1954. They did a lot of the zoning ordinances. A lot of uses were allowed in front yards that aren't allowed now in front yards either by city code or homeowners association indentures. So the trend is to go with smaller setbacks for the front yard so you can move the houses up a little bit and then have more use of your backyard. It's one of the reasons that we see a lot of variance requests so that people can put in swimming pools or decks and whatnot. So we're trying to clean that up. And I think that had this memo been presented to planning and zoning and what you sit on that board, they probably would have had a different recommendation to you on that. But certainly the board, 4 votes is what it takes to override a negative recommendation under our code, which is the same as just a passing ordinance, so.
I don't think there's any like big heartburn on it one way or the other. I think there's some explanation. I think some of it's just this as well as cleanup issues like we've done several times.
Well, I understand the idea of being able to use the backyard more. What I'm concerned about is why are we changing the side yard setback?
That was one staff put up. I mean, you can, all it did is it matched what they
So,
do with all their overlays.
For several of these zoning areas, it would be, the existing is a 10-foot, correct?
Yeah.
And
The big ones stay the big ones, it's just as they get, the idea was, what they were kind of doing like a look at, well, basically what he did is he goes in and says, if we're looking at the lot size, he goes, these are the same things I see all the time. So they were going, what happens is if you keep making stuff smaller and you keep the side yards the same, it has a dramatic effect on that. You just keep making the, you know, the houses get really small, even though they're, like a lot of places will adjust the side yard to allow it to kind of go together. So if you take something that's 120 foot wide, you take it to 10s, but then you drop it to 80 and you still have 10. The fronts change, but the sides don't change. So you really having a dramatic. That's what you see in a lot of places.
But for a lot of these right now, if you're building to the 10-foot setback in the side yards, then that means the buildings themselves can physically be, the walls are 20 feet apart.
Yes.
Versus, going to 6 feet on some of these, now all of a sudden we're at 12. And to me, that's a drastic change.
But that's what they were saying on it. Again, you could separate them too. If you want to do it on them, you just want to look at one of the other. The difference is that you're doing an overlay, it's almost everywhere. And if you drive around almost all the subdivisions, that was what their comment is. That's what you see almost everywhere.
Everywhere outside of Eureka.
No, everywhere inside of Eureka, we do PUs, they'll put them in place
What we're
like
getting
that.
is, we're getting requests on lots where people want to use more of their lot for structure. for example, in the side yards, you can't put a storage shed, or you can't put any kind of a, large swing set or whatnot. And people want to be able to use their lots more, because a lot of the lots are, especially when you've done some of the smaller lots, traditionally, the percentage of the side yards at 10 foot with the size of the lots on some of the R3 and R4 is disproportionate to the side yards on the larger stuff. So you get to use your lot a lot percentage-wise greater if you have a larger lot than you do a smaller lot, and the percentages theoretically should be the same regardless of the size of your lot.
But houses can be closer together as well, right?
Yes. But they're gonna be closer together no matter
Because you have a
what,
smaller
because
lot.
they're, like I said, you had a 100-foot lot, no matter what, you're gonna be, it just gets what you end up having, what I.
For
go
example,
ahead.
in your LLRD, okay, you have a requirement that you have, I think it's 250 foot street frontage, but you allow your side yard to be 15 foot. Okay, that's what your zoning requirement is. So if somebody has a 50-foot lot, why would you require them to have 1/20th of their lot as their side yard when you don't require 1/20th in your large lot residential? That's the percentage issue I was talking about.
And I guess my other example is like in every development that's been done here, that, and again, we don't have anything sitting there that's, that as it gets into that R2, R3, and I don't know what's around, almost everything that's been done, if you go through almost any existing subdivision we're in, none of the stuff has got, there really are very few that are 10 foot, any of the new ones, because they've all been done under the PU or some of the other functions. They've all had, whenever we do them, we adjust them. So that's what we were looking at, was when you don't have them. If you guys say, I don't want them, I don't know, the one I've had most conversations with people talking about is the front yard, because it's so far back, and I've had, like, you'll have a big, large lot, it causes all sorts of issues because it's drastic. You can parse it and look at it. I don't really care. It's just what the staff recommendation on it, and what they're seeing.
Well, I think I would feel more comfortable if planning and zoning had another shot at it with a better explanation. And at the same time, I wouldn't mind seeing about parsing it out, but you're telling me you can't even build a swing set? You can't put a swing set?
You can't put a structure, some of the larger swing sets, if it's over 4 foot tall or so many square feet, I don't remember square foot, you can't build a structure in your side yard setback. That's our code.
And these are, like I said, you're not going, I don't care on it with one way or the other as far as the sides, the fronts, I don't know what else to tell them, because that was, from your guys, I don't know what else on the sides, I just, like I said, you can keep messing with their.
There was the singular question that came up. I thought, great, made a very good conversation about it, description about it, that, it was basically following the codes and everything else that other municipalities are having and so forth. And that was the only question that was ever came up.
Well, I haven't heard one complaint from a resident wanting to use the front yard or side yard. And I'm sure every resident won't.
Well, they've been up there asking for variances. For example, we had to change all the codes in Wellington Woods so that people could put swimming pools in because they didn't have room. And they're not saying, I don't like my front yard setback. What they're saying is, I don't have enough rear yard. And if you can move the house up, then you have more rear yard.
And that's what I'm trying to kind of get to.
Well, make the lots a little bit bigger. If they want that, the lots could be.
But you're taking the largest lots in the whole area, that's what I'm saying, is you're doing, it's a weird policy because of the policies they're trying to make. We don't do it anywhere, and then that's why when we kind of brought it up. Now, the sides, again, you guys can have whatever, it's not, that's the one I've seen, and you're not gonna see one existing because a lot of them are not conforming. We just have a mix, so it's,
So not on existing,
I
so
think-
we're saying that then, for development then,
Right.
essentially.
well, you're just saying it
He's
makes
saying
sense.
that the current field conditions, if you go out and look, a lot of your subdivisions already have 6 foot side yards because you varied it when you approved the plans. What staff is saying, your codes don't meet what people are actually doing and have been doing for years. And what we've been trying to do over years is conform our codes to what is actually occurring so that we don't have to come up every single time and change something.
It's more streamlined.
And when it makes it more clear as to what you can and can't do.
But currently, with a large development that comes in, they come in and give a presentation and we're able to, discuss with, the residents and, other aldermen and whatnot. So if this changes,
You can still do the exact same thing.
They would still do the same thing if they were zoning it. It's just, they
Yeah.
wouldn't have to come in and ask for variance.
You just wouldn't even have. you
Right.
just-
so then they would still require CUPs.
Well, it depends on if somebody came in and did this.
That's,
I mean, they could, but they
Well,
would.
they
let me
can
give you
build
this.
straight zoning essentially after this. I mean, unless there's something else that they'd like to change, they can just build straight.
They would.
It changes what a regular zoning requirement is, but like, for example, I'll give you the one, and that was one somebody threw out the other day. Some of you, were you around when they did that, the one that was Grace Rose over there? That's behind Steeple. So they, because the front yards they had the strange requirement on it, they were going back and forth about, they were trying to change zoning classifications over front yard setbacks, and that got into a big issue. But after it was done, I had 4 different aldermen come in and say, this is bad, because we pushed all the houses that are there back. And so they were all up against the next door property owners. So if you're concerned about neighboring property owners, this ordinance forces your houses closer to them. As opposed to being closer to the new development in the street, you're immediately taking it off the table and you're saying, I'm gonna push them back against other people. And that's why I'm saying people are having to struggle with it. And then on top of that, your only option is to downzone them and make the lots smaller, so you get to a smaller front yard.
You know,
That's what I'm saying, you get all these weird combos.
it was also mentioned, you guys mentioned about the people who wanted to put the pools in the backyard. We had to make variations on that,
Our decks.
or
Yeah, how many rear yard things have we had in the last, you know what I mean? And that's all I'm saying, you're taking care
But
of
you know,
it now, so other.
Carly, your comment about having people get a bigger lot.
I
A
think,
developer comes in and plots out their lots. The people buy the lot, they build their house. It may be several years later, they decide to put in a pool. They don't have room to put the pool in, so that's when they come up to us and ask for a variance on it, so that they can get a pool put in. So the thing is that this helps us by pushing the house up further, gives them a bigger backyard. You don't have to come in later on.
so I guess we're looking at this 2 different ways. I'm looking at it as a developer issue. Like, I get that the developer is the one that plots out the lots and whatnot. However, who's, that's the developer issue, not necessarily, maybe the developers should get the bigger lots then, or should make bigger lots. Like, that's my issue.
But the lots could get bigger,
So
and
the
you still
year,
can't, but here's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
lots could get bigger, they just get wider. It's a square footage thing, they just get wider and they still stay just as close, because that's the problem, you're not giving the people the tools. Unless you really feel strongly that in a subdivision, it makes a big difference. What?
let's do this, the setback and the rear yard larger then.
So we'll make the houses even smaller.
If
On
that's,
big lots, I mean, what I'm saying is, that I don't understand why do you feel strongly when you drive in a subdivision? Do you feel strongly that the houses, there's a huge difference if they're 40 feet away from the street as opposed to 25? Because my whole neighborhood, full disclosure, is one of the biggest ones out there, and we're 20 feet off the street. You couldn't find it hardly, unless they're massive, they're 10-acre lots and they're way off. So that's what I'm saying, the side yard stuff, I really don't, you guys can deal with that as you want to.
And the side yard-
The front yard to me is the one, because I've had conversations both with residents on rear yard, I've had with all sorts of people, and I think the front yard one, I've been all over St. Louis doing stuff, we're the only people that do this at that level. It makes no sense, and it really drives your ability to have good quality development happen, it's bad. The side yards is a policy issue, you guys could carve, and like I said, that was staff, so I don't have a problem separating the issue, but I don't have another way to describe you, just both from my professional experience and from the other one, the front is really bad.
Well, I'm comfortable with the logic with the front yard setback.
Right. We haven't had a lot of
Because
side
because that does make sense if you've got we hear a lot of complaints, obviously, when developments go in, that, hey, I had this nice setting, and all of a sudden now I have a house,
And you're forcing people to push it back.
So I get that, and I think that makes a lot of sense. What I'm concerned about is any negative ramifications on density. Would it change how a subdivision is plotted? if you allow a 6-foot side yard setback, does that mean more lots?
It won't change the number of lots.
You're not changing the square footage
It
requirement.
would make the houses be bigger and the houses would be
The house
closer
could be
together, but you're not gonna you're not allowed more lots.
For example, you could build a ranch on a lot that you otherwise couldn't instead of a 2-story. I mean, typically what you're seeing is there's a lot of people that want ranches on some of these lots, and they don't want to maintain a lot of grass. So they want a bigger house, deck, pool, all that kind of stuff. We see a lot of that permits in building.
Like, for instance, the entire Legends is 70-foot lots with 6-foot side yards, every house. Everything in the arbors, that's smaller, everything, it's our place.
Mine's, I can like almost touch my
Right.
neighbor's house.
But you
I
guys,
would-
but
I would
that's
think
a
a lot of
policy
them up the
decision.
hilltop.
But those are,
Forest.
that's what I'm saying, that's what I always look at, is that is what you're seeing. Now, if you get to an older, so like if you get into Augustine or some of those that are smaller house, big lot, it's an older style, and it's also people can't hardly afford that anymore, because when they want to do the developments, as prices going up, or everything, you just don't see that anymore, and that's why you're seeing those get torn down and big houses go. But all I'm saying is, when you actually go around and look at what you actually have here, that was what staff was saying, is what you actually have, 90% of everywhere is what's here. They're just saying your normal zoning is different. It doesn't mean you can do any more, you still have whatever the square footage is on the lot, they can't put any more, the lot's gotta be a certain square footage. That's all I'm saying, all you're doing is playing around with what you can build in the square footage. So that was staff's thing, it was like, why not just do what we're doing
So,
everywhere?
okay, so essentially, it does not change the density, it just may appear more dense if the houses are closer together, just from driving by.
If you drove by with the houses, will be
It's the same
they'll
number
be
of
closer
lots.
together. You can't make the lots and the lots don't get any smaller. So like say in R3, you cannot get smaller. The lots don't get, like, they don't go from like 70 feet to 60. They got a certain, so our zoning code has a minimum lot size square footage, a minimum frontage, a minimum rear yard. So there's all sorts of constraints about, what goes on out there. This is just one they were saying, we change it all the time up here, and all we do is variances. It doesn't have a big substantive effect on anything we do, other than it allows us to it just makes what we do match what's actually out there in our city.
And the percentage of the properties with the 6-foot lots is the same as the percentage of the properties with 10.
When you say percentage of it,
Well, percentage of the side yard to the full.
it's closer. Yeah, I mean, you get to the one, I mean, it all gets smaller. It's still a bigger percentage of lot, just because the lot's small. And it's hard to say, because you got anything in a R1, those lots could be an acre, that just because there's a minimum on them, but sometimes they're bigger. I mean, it's just not an issue up there.
We go from half acre to 3 acre, so anything that is R1 can be from 0 to 2.99.
I mean, and out here, the other stuff we do is pretty good. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. That's just always been an odd. So, like I said, the one on the front, I think is real self-evident. That was staff's recommend on the other one.
So the 6-foot thing, staff's already approved it, the Legends, the arbors.
Not your staff,
but the board.
Yeah, the board's over. If you approved arbors, you approved 6-foot, side yards on a 70-foot lot, all that.
I think if you look at the forest and hilltop, it's the same way.
Yeah, I mean, all of them. And if you're in St. Louis County, that's a very standard, that's all their normal stuff.
I don't feel like my house is too close to my neighbor's house, it's 6 foot.
And it's 12 foot.
Oh, trust me.
I never, Todd has told me how many times it is.
Right, so this makeup of this board hasn't really addressed any subdivisions in the last 2+ years.
There just hasn't been much going on, or plats or different things. It was just a comment we had coming through, because we've had conversations. I've had some conversations with homeowners and different stuff on different stuff, because I get stuff in for people all the time. So I was like, well, this would be, and I don't look at this a whole lot different than when we addressed the rear yard buffer zones and things like that we've had. So I mean, it's more just trying to clean up. But no, you're going to see what you saw as a zoning. You're going to see in zoning again. You're not going to see. It's like you're never going to see something because of that.
Right. Well, can I become a little bit more familiar with this, and can we address this at the next board meeting? Then can we go ahead and I make a motion that we table it until the next board meeting.
Well, I'll second that if that helps you, just I again would like to see planning and zoning have another look at it. Another application.
I mean, I don't know what else to tell them, it's my thing, I mean, Craig was there, and there was no explanation given, and, I mean, Craig had a long conversation with us, so I don't know what you guys.
So there's nothing pending right now that's going to be held up.
No, I mean, there's nothing pending, I just don't know what else to present to you guys.
Craig basically said what Kathy said
Yeah.
tonight to the P and Z.
That'll give me a
Yeah.
chance to chew on it and to try and better understand it. whatnot.
So what did
Yeah, you need to chew on it.
I have a question. Were you on the boards on the arborist group?
Well, the thing is, I'd like to have a chance to chew on this so that I'm more of a visual person, so I can sit down and kind of just go through.
Well, what can we give you to do that, so we don't chew on it for 2 weeks? Because that's my thing, I go, if you, I mean, you guys are both or do whatever, I just don't wanna, and I don't care if you said, hey, I guess what I'm curious at too is, are you more concerned about side than front?
Well, I was initially, and having heard the explanation of what's occurred over the recent years, that it makes more sense to me now that all we've done is allow variances in the past. I do understand that. And
Not like a
so I wasn't here on the board for all those other subdivisions and didn't witness the fact that they were all altered. Right. So all of those, including the Legends, Legends was 20-some years ago, or
Everybody's done it over and over, and that's what I'm saying, you're doing it over.
Which I may not have an issue with it, I just want to have a chance to like sit down and look at past things, just kind of look at everything all together, so I
But
may
that's
not
what I'm
have
saying, what
an
can I
issue.
give you so we're done? That's what I mean, because that's
Every
what we're
single-
talking about, you want every single platform or subdivision in the city.
Yeah, basically those.
But you've already approved half of them. I mean, they're all around, that's what I'm saying, is if you're looking at, I'm trying to tell you, like,
All I'm
harbors.
asking is what does 2 weeks matter, like why, like
We
why so?
do that, I mean, that's a pretty consistent theme.
Because we're gonna go through it again in 2 weeks.
I mean, I just don't know what new
But in
you're
2
gonna
weeks,
find.
it can be a simple, in 2 weeks, it can be a simple, okay, like, have no issue, okay.
It can be simple
it's
now
approved.
too.
No, it can't be simple because I don't have everything in front of me, and then.
What, are you gonna, what
Well,
is
you
you
guys-
guys, you gonna drive, you gonna drive to the elder?
There's a motion and a second,
To
but to table, so if there's not, they have to have a majority of table, so do you guys want to table it or not?
I do not.
No.
Okay, so the motion fails, so do you want to vote up or down, or is there a motion?
You gotta do the ordinance.
Or you gotta do.
We're gonna go to number 6 on the.
Number
Alright, so
nine.
let's roll through let's go through, so the 101 East First Street is, which one, I forgot.
Yeah, it's.
So that's
the same bill.
It's
That'd be bill number 2766, which would be ordinance number 2652. So that is the, 101, that is a dog daycare, right?
I'll motion we approve with the adjusted hours.
Second.
No, you're gonna read for the first time.
Oh, yeah, they're
Yeah,
reading.
so it'd be just a short time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
So we're reading the motion or the ordinance as amended, ordinance to amend the planned commercial zoning at 101 East First Street.
I move that we read Bill 2766 the second time as amended.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
An ordinance to amend the planned commercial zoning at 101 East First Street.
I make a motion to read bill 2766 for the third time, that's short time.
I'll second.
As amended. See it?
Yeah, they're always there. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
An ordinance to amend the planned commercial zoning at 101 East First Street.
I make a motion to adopt bill 2766 and the ordinance be a roll call vote as amended.
I'll second.
Alderman,
Number 2666. Oh, we got to go. Yep, I'm assuming we're gonna make it through, so go ahead.
Alderman Dykeman,
Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Isgrizzi,
Yes.
Kilpatrick,
Yes.
Holloway.
Yes.
All right, bill number 2666 will bear ordinance number 2652.
What is
All right,
it?
Now seven's where we.
2652.
Now we
Fifty.
do special
All
use.
right.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so this is the special use permit for the dogs, so for the dog place. So this is the actual approval. You allowed it in the zoning, so this is allowing the special use problem. So that's 7A, which would just be a simple vote, right?
Yeah, and just with the same 8 to 5 for.
Motion amendment.
So it's the same, it's a special permit amended for the 8 to 5 application.
I'll second.
Okay, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, you guys are good. All right, now we got
Now, don't
the.
tell us you're leaving, aren't you gonna stay?
It's after 5.
Now we're going to 4B. That would be bill number 2767. This would be the rezoning of the West North Street and Corby Road properties we talked about.
I move that we read Bill 2767 for the first time by short title.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
An ordinance to rezone certain West North Street and Corby Road property.
I make a motion to read Bill 2767 for the second time, right?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
An ordinance to rezone certain West North Street and Corby Road property.
I make a motion to read Bill 2767 for the third time, right?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
An ordinance to rezone certain West North Street and Corby Road properties.
Move that we adopt Bill 2767 into ordinance via roll call vote.
Second.
Alderman Dykeman,
Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Isgrizzi,
Yes.
Kilpatrick,
Yes.
Holloway.
Yes.
I got 9, which is bill number 2768 on the side yard front yard.
I'll motion we read Bill 2768 for the first time by short title.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
An ordinance to amend the municipal code relating to certain single-family residential front and side yard provision.
Move that we read Bill 2768 for the second time by short title.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
An ordinance to amend the municipal code relating to certain single-family residential front and side yard provisions.
A motion to read Bill 2768 for the third time by short title.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose.
All right, see you guys next week. We got the bill number 27.
We would adopt that into.
Township, well, you got it.
Our code provides if you don't get if somebody votes no on the third reading, it gets continued.
Just do it next time. All right, so we got bill number 2769, which is the Housing and Community Development Corporation. You guys got any questions or comments?
I move that we read Bill 2769 for the first time by short title.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
An ordinance to authorize entering into municipal housing and community development cooperation agreement with St. Louis County.
Move that we read Bill 2769 second time by short title.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against?
An ordinance to authorize entering into municipal housing and community development cooperation agreement with St. Louis County.
A motion to read Bill 2769 for the third time by short title.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against?
An ordinance to authorize entering into municipal housing and community development cooperation agreement with St. Louis County.
Move that we adopt Bill 2769 into ordinance via roll call vote.
Second.
Alderman Dykeman,
Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Isgrizzi,
Yes.
Kilpatrick,
Yes.
Holloway.
Yes.
All right. Bill number 2769 will bear ordinance number 2655. On to Bill.
4.
Oh, 54, sorry. 4. And we got bill number 20, bill number 2770, authorizing enter into the agreement for the Parks and Rec program services.
A motion to read Bill 2770 for the first time by short title.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed?
An ordinance authorizing entering into an agreement for Parks and Recreation Program services.
I make a motion to read Bill 2770 for the second time, by short title.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
An ordinance authorizing entering into an agreement for Parks and Recreation Program services.
Motion to read Bill 2770 for the third time by short title.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
An ordinance authorizing entering into an agreement for Parks and Recreation Program services.
Motion we move Bill 2770 into ordinance by roll call vote.
Second.
Alderman Dykeman,
Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
Murray,
I'm sorry, oh, yes.
Isgrizzi,
Yes.
Kilpatrick,
Yes.
Holloway.
All right, so that would be bill number 2770 will bear ordinance number 2655. All right, we already did the Board of Alderman President appointment. motion. Line on that again.
I make a motion that we appoint,
Where are we up?
Alderman Jerry Dyckman.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We have to adopt them though?
That was among myself.
Right, she might. Gee.
All right, we got the city disbursements. Any questions or motions?
Motion we pay the bills.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're seeking the financial statements. Any questions or acknowledgement?
I move that we acknowledge it.
All right. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, we got the comments. Dyke, you want to go ahead?
Thank you for, voting me for president. Appreciate it. That's all I got.
Well, you handled the last meeting pretty well.
Right,
You know, yeah.
I'm excited about it. We got a lot of trips planned. All right, so
I look forward to seeing everybody at breakfast on Thursday morning. Don't be late.
6:30, right?
6:30, doors open. Program begins at 7 a.m. We'll get you out of there by 9, probably before,
but you want to stay because the singing.
well, you may want to stay for the finale.
Stay for the finale. We got, Crowley.
I'm good.
Nothing?
Well, we got a lot going on in Augustine Heights now with the street repaving has begun, and Public Works is addressing a couple of issues. We had a problem the last time the streets were repaved, that they took the crown out of the street. And on the hills that we have with the amount of water and the lack of storm collection boxes, it's been an issue because sometimes all the water goes to one side of the street. So they're trying to get the crown back as they repave. It's not going to be perfect, so it's not going to eliminate all the water flow problems that some people have, but it should certainly help. So that's going to be taking place. Right now it's on Forest Hill. Willow is also on schedule. And we've also started some excavation work for the detention basin, so that's going on too. And so all the contractors are going to have to kind of work in tandem with each other. But at the same time, it looks like things are happening, and appreciate the city improving our streets and our stormwater issues.
Nothing for me.
Are they gonna stripe the streets that they did last year pretty soon? Because Merrimack, southern half of Merrimack Boulevard is not been striped yet.
It was
Is
previously.
that a comment?
It was resurfaced last year. What?
Yes.
All right, the only comment I had was on, I did want to, on that basin over at Augustine, we have, that is not, it's a mistake, it hasn't started yet, but there's been an issue over there where our old water lines are, some of those were put in a long time ago, so they're not, they're trying, they want to run us through that basin in an area we haven't ever located, which is bad.
Oh, is that what we're doing with the digging?
Yeah, we're trying to-
Physically looking
We're
for
trying
it?
to physically find a water line, we don't want to hit it, excavating it, we thought we had locates on it, but it isn't really, can't find it, so.
That's interesting.
So we're gonna find it.
Maybe Missouri American Water could find it if we could get that.
I think that would be a neat thing, so they're, yeah, we're trying to.
Someone will find it.
We're trying to think, we'll find it one way or the other. Hagen, or it'll probably just cut off one or two Hagen's house somehow, but no, we should have, but we should have it soon, and that contractor's ready to go, the stake, then it's gone, but we can't.
Okay, so the excavation we've been seeing is city workers.
Yes, we're trying to locate so we can safely get the guy in there and do the actual excavation. That has been good though, that we haven't really hit a lot of rock in there, the rock and hole, but trying to find it.
Thanks for the clarification on that.
Yeah, so it would go, that probably was a little small equipment to get there for their stuff.
Right, I just thought that was the initial.
That's why it was cheap. All right. Sounds good, I don't know if it goes.
Almost gonna go close.
All right.
Second.
What's so loud about it?
I don't have my water bottle.